No matter your age, your plan for retirement can start today. From the News Channel 5 Network, this is the Retirement Report.
Good morning. Welcome to the Retirement Report. I'm Hank Parrott, your host. We're going to be talking this morning about the biggest risks facing retirees. And this is one of those areas when it comes to planning for your retirement, whether you're talking about retirement that's going to be in 20 years, 10 years, 5 years or less, or maybe you're already in retirement. We're going to talk about some of the big risks, but the biggest risk, a lot of times people ask me, are concerned when they come in about inflation. This is one of the things. I talked to a couple yesterday, and we're looking at their expenses, and we're seeing that they need $36,000 a year right now. So they live, a pretty reasonable, modest lifestyle. $36,000 covers their living expenses. They are good savers. However, when we look 10 years from now, they're going to need $50,000 with inflation to buy the same things that $36,000 buys today. So $50,000 in 10 years. They've got to make sure that their income can grow to that. Now, when the wages go away, how are you going to do that? How are you going to replace that income and have it not just replace the 36 or make up the difference, let's say, of what's going to be needed there, but also have it grow to keep up with inflation? What's another concern that people have, of course, is rising health care costs. We see as we get older, we need health care more, and we see the cost of health care rising at an even greater rate than that of inflation with regard to other things we may purchase. So some things that we're concerned about: rising costs of food, clothing, fuel, gas, heat for our homes, that type of thing. And healthcare costs is a big one, and it's one that's growing. And of course, as we get older, we tend to need it more and use it more. Maybe we're getting into needing more as far as whether it's healthcare costs related to well care. Maybe you have to see your doctor more frequently. There are more tests that are required or that are recommended, certainly, as we get older. Once you pass 50, that's when they start telling you, you need to come in for this and you need to come in for that, and these things cost money. You're going to have deductibles, co-insurances, and things to be concerned about there. Prescriptions. We tend to find also that as we get older, we have things like maybe our blood pressure goes up, or our cholesterol. Maybe we have issues with blood sugar. All of these can cause us to need to be taking additional medications, and these can be very expensive. And there again, those go up faster than what you would see on other items, especially those in the CPI, so the Consumer Price Index. So that's a big concern. Is it threat of higher taxes? This is another one. Taxes, we're looking at historically low tax rates. What's that going to look like in the future? All right, are we going to see our taxes go up? Most people feel they will. I'm one that does. I don't see how, when we're running up the debt that we are and we're spending more money than we're taking in taxes currently at a considerable amount, how can we avoid paying higher taxes? So these are all concerns, and of course another one, volatility in the stock market. My goodness, this is one of the areas when you look at the Federal Reserve policies, and I've talked about this a number of times on the show. Federal Reserve policies right now, they keep this accommodative easing, this business of buying bonds, which means printing more money to do so, expanding the money supply. And if you keep increasing the amount of dollars in the system, then those dollars are going to become worth less down the road. Possibly worthless is put together there. The next part of that is if the dollar starts getting to be worth less, that means we're going to need more dollars to buy the same things, and of course that's called inflation. And how they're going to control that when they start to unwind is a big concern. As we've talked about inflation here, well, the other part of that is volatility in the market. What happened this past summer when the Federal Reserve just talked a little bit about the possibility of letting up on that accommodative easing and maybe buying fewer bonds, which I think is about $85 billion a month right now. And they talked about reducing that down a little bit, and the markets went really wacky as far as volatility went. Big drops, then it'd go up, then it'd go down. They were just like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? And then the Federal Reserve, in fact, when they saw that, just even mentioning the possibility of some, this happening sometime in the near future caused this type of volatility increase in the markets. They came back out and said, no, we'll keep this going as long as we need to until we're sure everything is okay and the markets calm down. And we've had a very good year in the markets. The S&P's up somewhere around 25%, I think, year to date. But again, how long is that going to run? And once that accommodative easing, at some point, they can't print dollars forever, right? At some point, they've got to change course. And we're already seeing another thing in the news that was in the Wall Street Journal today. I think it was 3.6% they're saying as far as growth this year, above expectations. So that's one of the things they're looking at. That's that sign of inflation, 3.6. We're seeing all of a sudden the economy improving. We're seeing the growth of things. They're going, the Federal Reserve might use that as to say, okay, looks like things are getting more solid. We can ease up. Look out for the market when that happens. So these are all big concerns and these are all big risks, but the biggest risk, and it's kind of tied in a little bit with all this, of course, is that of running out of money in retirement. Right? Is there anything that scares people more? I would say the vast majority, almost all of the clients that I see on a week-to-week basis, that's one of the biggest concerns they have, is running out of money in retirement. It's why they come in and ask, well, is it okay to retire at this point? Would I be able to retire in 2 years or next year or in 5 years? Or I'm already retired and I'm concerned, do I have enough money to last through retirement without having to worry about running out? And am I invested properly to make sure that that doesn't happen, that I'm going to generate enough money to make sure I don't run out of money? See, that's the biggest fear. Can you imagine being, maybe in your mid-70s or 80 years old, and you're in good health, you're active, you're enjoying life, and then you run out of money, you're flat broke, and how are you going to go out at that time in life and do anything about that, about going out and trying to earn money, for instance, at that point? It's going to be a lot harder, all right? So one of the biggest risks, or the biggest risk facing retirees today, is running out of money in retirement. So today's show is going to be about how to address that risk. We're going to talk about some of the other things that tie into it, some of the things I just mentioned, and strategies that we use in my office each week with clients in helping them overcome that, okay? In other words, coming up with solutions to assure that they never run out of money in retirement, that they're going to be able to maintain their standard of living, their quality of life, and in many instances even improve it. One of the best things and most enjoyable things I do is in helping people solve these problems is also looking at, once we've got that baseline established and we know that we've got that standard of living covered for life, then we start looking at things like, well, do we have a little room for some fun money, for some more things that we might like to do in those goals, maybe travel more, do some things for the kids or the grandkids or whatever it might be. And that's another thing that we help people find solutions for so they can enjoy their life as much as possible. So those are things we're going to be covering today. You're welcome to give us a call, 737-plus, 737-7587 with any questions or comments you might have. And one of the things I want to touch on, and I started this a couple of weeks ago, I offered up a free financial plan basically for callers that week, and we got a tremendous response. We offered it up, I think, for 2 weeks running, and we got, as I said, a tremendous response, so much so that I thought, I'm just going to turn it into a holiday thing. And here's what the things I also ran into in doing it. All of a sudden I realized I've got clients that are coming in, some that from that special offer that we made available, and then other clients that have just come in through the normal course of events. And I realized, well, if I'm going to do this, it's not fair really to new clients coming in that maybe didn't hear about the promotion to not be able to give them the same benefit. So I thought the best thing to do is I'm just going to put a time frame on it. That way I can control, I can make it available to everybody that's coming in, and at the same time I can put time frames on it, because I can't just let this go forever. That's not how I'm going to stay in business. So here's the way we're going to do it. If you would like the free financial plan, All right, now I normally charge between $500 to typically $2,500, sometimes as much as $4,000 or $5,000, depending on the size of the estate that we're going to be dealing with, the size of the assets, and the complexity of the case that we're dealing with. The more accounts someone has, the more money someone has, typically the more time that is involved in doing up a plan, so hence the difference as far as costs go. But again, $500 to $5,000 you figure usually is what those plans cost. What I'm going to do again is we're going to keep that offer available to anyone that calls my office, and we'll get the number up on your screen. The key is I'm going to have to put some deadlines on it. So you've got to contact the office by December 20th, all right? So it's just a couple of weeks left. So either get in quickly because spots are filling up, and the other time frame is how soon you're going to have to get in. So if you want to call for it, there's the number, 376-5325. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to give you some other details regarding the plan that we're making available to you and how you can take advantage of it. So join us here. We'll be right back on the Retirement Report.